But dreams aside, what's the real story of Cambridge? Who are the people that shaped it into the place it is today? I'm heading to the glorious Botanic Garden, where some of the most radical theories in history were cultivated. In 1825, 29-year-old John Stevens Henslow became the university's Professor of Botany. He would go on to transform what was a simple drug plant nursery into this stunning 40-acre oasis, and its creation would help change the world.
This is the largest university-owned botanic garden in the world, and it's huge, with over 8,000 plant species. But what really fascinates me is that the vision behind it inspired one of the most famous and important books ever written.
But I wonder what it was about these gardens that would light a spark in one of Henslow's proteges and change our understanding of, well, almost everything. I'm hoping Head of Horticulture, Sally Petitt, has the answers.
What I'm fascinated about is why the Botanic Garden's here.
The Professor of Botany in the early 1800s, John Stevens Henslow, recognised that plants should actually be studied in their own right rather than for medicinal purposes, and also felt that the only way to do that and serve the university well was to have a bigger botanic garden.
Now, I find this period in time fascinating because plants were studied before this point, but this is the time where they start looking beyond, don't they? They start thinking, hang on, it's not just about whether this can help me, it's about the species itself.
Definitely. I mean, and Henslow was very much at the forefront of that thinking, and just quite a visionary, really.
Henslow's observations on how plants adapt to different environments and conditions became the bedrock of his research. Around us is his outdoor lab. Huge, beautiful plant families all snuggled up in big beds.
What's fascinating, because it's not just about Henslow, this story, it's his meeting with a fellow called Darwin. Now, as I understand it, it was partly the plants here that got Darwin thinking about families, about species. Is that right?
Henslow actually taught Darwin, and there is speculation, certainly, that Darwin was definitely influenced by his tutor, Henslow.
The story doesn't end here, of course. Henslow would soon invite Darwin on a globe-trotting specimen hunt.
That's the newspaper that Darwin sent it back to Henslow in 1828.
That's incredible.
Which would change everything.
It ruffled quite a few feathers, both in the scientific establishment and sent ripples throughout Victorian society. And it still does cause such controversies now.
I'm in Cambridge, unearthing the city-shaping stories which have sprung from the people who lived and studied here. Nestled within the lively thrum of the city centre rests the historic Botanic Garden, a gorgeous, meticulously curated green, pink and yellow explosion of organised chaos. But it was a friendship, a fateful connection, which began here over 100 years ago between botanist John Stevens Henslow and a young Charles Darwin that intrigues me. Historian of science Edwin Rose has granted me special access to some precious trinkets from the archive as I investigate how the fruits of this friendship would change our understanding of the natural world forever.
Edwin, I'm so excited to talk to you about Charles Darwin. He was at Cambridge University, but it was not his first time at university, was it?
So Darwin had previously been at Edinburgh studying medicine, and he left as a result of him becoming increasingly interested in natural history. But the other reason was that he could not stand the sight of blood.
Bit of an issue.
His father then wanted him to go on to do what was seen as the next more sort of secure profession of the age, which is to become a parish priest in the Anglican Church.
So Darwin, spoiler alert, writer of The Origin of the Species, came here to actually study religion, essentially, to become a priest.
Exactly, and botany was part of that. So he attended Henslow's botany course 3 times. He taught botany in the tradition of natural theology, which is the idea of studying the extent and utility of God's creation.
Student and master became great friends, but it was a letter sent by Henslow to Darwin in 1831 that would be the catalyst to one of the greatest discoveries in history and would rattle theologians across the globe.
I shall hope to see you shortly, fully expecting that you will eagerly catch at the offer which is likely to be made you of a trip to survey the southern extremity of America. The voyage is to last 2 years. In short, I suppose there never was a finer chance for a man of zeal and spirit.
On December the 27th, 1831, at just 22 years old, Darwin boarded the HMS Beagle, embarking on a 5-year adventure across 4 continents, leading to his world-altering theory of evolution. And these are the actual specimens he sent back to Henslow in Cambridge.
That's the newspaper that Darwin sent it back to Henslow in, dated October 1828.
That's incredible. Tell me about these 2 here. Are they the same plant?
They are the same species, but they look totally different. You can see it's definitely
That's the nub of it, though, isn't it?
It is.
This is the same plant, different environment.
Yeah.
So this sets him thinking even more about life, doesn't it? About how we grow, who we are.
It is. It is.
Darwin was beginning to develop his groundbreaking theory of evolution by natural selection, but it would be 28 years before he would have the courage to publish his controversial findings. He described writing the origin of the species as a living hell.
It ruffled quite a few feathers, both in the scientific establishment and sent ripples throughout Victorian society. And it still does cause such controversies now.
Without Darwin meeting Henslow, without that voyage on the Beagle, without that mentorship, Darwin may not have produced the work that he did.
It was Henslow's, I'd say, impetus that really taught Darwin how to collect these things and how to observe them. And I think that is a lasting legacy that lasts throughout Darwin's life.
History for me is all about connections. You know, that spark that makes things come alive. Henslow and Darwin, that invitation to go on the voyage of discovery. If the 2 of them hadn't met, hadn't connected, would Darwin have achieved what he did? Possibly not. The book that changed the world came from this garden. Remarkable.